Oh hey, Jeremy here from Long Speed Marine. Welcome back to the channel. We're going to get on the Skylark here for a bit and get some stuff cleaned up under the hood. So tag along. I spent about, 20 minutes farting around looking for a bolt and washer and spacer that I took out of my power steering pump to get that off. And I've got to replace my power steering box because if you watch the other video where I got this thing fired up, I'll put a link there. And yeah, there's a crack in the front of this power steering box. I've honestly never seen that. I imagine what's happened is it's filled up with water and split the power steering box. I know that this thing sat outside for quite a long time with no hood on it. That's probably why the Buick 350 motor was junk. You can check out that. There's a link up there. And so the Buick 350 motor was junk, so that's why we've got this small block Chevy in there. And probably same problem, right? Sat outside. So this power steering box got water in it and I guess froze and split. First one I've ever seen. I'm sure people are going to say, oh, I've seen that before, but I've had lots of power steering boxes sit outside and never had that happen, including the one that's actually on the Merc right there. Now, I haven't hooked up power steering to that, so I don't know. Maybe it is split, but still, I've never seen it happen. Anyways, so that's what really killed this thing. I was trying to get this thing up and running to go to a show, a big local show that happens here, and killed that whole progress when that happened. So the goal in total is to get this thing running and moving around under its own power. I may put exhaust on it before I take it off of this lift. So time is not on our side at the moment up here in Canada. Winter is coming soon. And once that happens, it's going to be really sort of a pain in the butt to move stuff around in here. So I'm going to get this power steering box off and pull the pitman arm off, see how difficult that's going to be, to swap it out to another box that I have down there. So let's get going on this. All right, so this is somewhat of a simple job. We just basically have to pull, I don't even have to pull this steering shaft off, and I may not till I get it out of the car because there's no steering column hooked up yet. I pulled that off to restore it and fix it up. So I'm just gonna start pulling these lines off. Is that leaking in the pan? Or all over the floor? No, it's going in the drain pan. Okay, good. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull the nut off of the pitman arm to the center link. And yeah, that's what we're going to do. Now I can take out the bolts for the power steering box. Now you can take out the bolts for the power steering box. All right, well, one worked. Okay. Plan B. Okay. Yo! Yo! Holy moly. Huh. That one doesn't feel good. I don't want to break it. Like that. Shoot. Ah. Dang it. All right. Ooh. Come on. You don't want to come out? Come on. I'd like you to come out. I'd like to clean you off. Ugh. All right. Well. Yeah. That's going to be a pain. Okay. So unfortunately, that's what happens sometimes working on these old cars, that these bolts. Now this one here, I mean, even if it hadn't have broken, I would have had to replace it anyways, because you can see how worn down it is compared to the others. So here's two others. Now this one is a bit eaten away, and this one is still good. So you can see obviously the difference in size between that one that's a good one and that one there. So no matter what, even if I had been able to get this thing out, I still would have had to replace it. So I'll have to get some bolts on order to put this sucker back in. But you can see here, hopefully you can see, we'll get you in a little bit closer. So you can see right in there the crack, especially once it's all cleaned up now. Nice big crack. So this is junk. And anyways, we'll get to pulling this pitman arm off. All right, so we're gonna get to replacing this pitman arm now. And another good thing to do is inspect this rag joint. If they're all frayed and looking like they're brittle or beat up, it's time to replace them. But this one looks really good. It's nice and pliable. It looks recent actually, so I'm gonna leave that alone, but I will have to pull this whole thing off and so that we can get it onto that other steering box. So. start doing something and think, this is really difficult, why is this being so difficult? And then remember you have a tool to make your life easier. Well, these rag joint bolts are a 7/16 12 point. And using a wrench, I mean, you'll get it done. But I knew I had a 7/16 12 point around here, I thought I did, just for doing this. And of course, once I was partially done, I remembered. Went and looked in the toolbox where it was. And there's the tool. Figures. All right. Now it does also have usually thread locker on it, Loctite. So I will put some of that back on when I put it back together. Now these can usually be a bit of a bear to get apart as well. Sometimes it's easier to do these in the car, but we'll see how difficult this one's going to be. Pop off. Oh, not too bad. This guy is stuck on the second set of splines. Sometimes you can get in there and spread the joint apart just a little. Come on, give me my tool back. Pop Ernie. Ow. Come on. There we go. Okay, so you can see it's, you know, they get pretty corroded, so I'll clean those up before I put it back together. And obviously I don't care about those threads because this is junk. Now on to the really fun part. Trying to get this pitman on. Okay, so I've got the compressor pumped up. So I can use my impact gun here, and hopefully this nut will come off. Okay. Now, the threads on my puller are probably going to be worn out right at that spot. I do have another one because I knew that this one was messed up. If you don't have a puller, these can be pretty tough to pull off, but what you can do is actually put a slice in this. You can actually cut this and then hammer a chisel in it to try and split it apart, and then you can sometimes end up prying that off. No. I don't know. So what's happening is I'm at that dead spot on my puller. Hopefully. See the threads on these pullers? So I know what some of you guys are saying. Grease the threads and then it won't do that. Well, maybe. And that's why I was already starting to do this. But I think it'll still do it. I don't think that's gonna make a difference. But we'll give it a fighting shot. You know? Why not? Now I may need to heat this. See what happens. I'm going to heat it up because there's no way that sucker's going to come just like that. So, get this snug. Actually put it under a bit of tension. and get the big red wrench. And it's off. Now, I'm sure it goes without being said that all this is going to be extremely hot, so we don't want to grab it with our hands. But what I'm going to do now is wait for this to cool off, and then I will clean it all up and reinstall the other one. All right, so it's the next day, and waited for this to cool off. This is my new power steering box, and I've got to obviously put this back together. And just want to tell you, so on these GM steering boxes, there's basically, it's keyed to the pitman arm. If you ever pull one apart, you'll see that. And kind of tricked me just for a minute on where to put this, but it's quite simple. If you don't remember where you put it or make note of it, there's a flat spot on the spline for the steering shaft to the column. And so what you can do, basically just, I mean, it's pretty simple to figure out. If you go lock full one way, this basically is going to be centered and it goes backwards like this. So obviously, if I take this off and try to key it in a different direction, that's way out of order. Like that's nowhere near where it needs to be. So it's quite simple to figure out. Once you put it on full lock that way, go full lock back the other direction. Right, that makes sense as well. And then centered, there's a, like I said, flat spot on this keyway, and with it pointing directly up, it should be basically in line and straight, and it is, so everything's gonna line up and work. So now all I need to do is put my nut back on and drive this thing home, and it'll be ready to go back on the car. Actually, first, I gotta paint it. But we'll paint it, put it back on the car, and that's what we're doing. All right, so I've got the steering box back installed. Basically, it's obviously the reverse of what I already did. And yes, I'm missing one bolt because I broke that off, but I will get a bolt. I'm sure I have one around here somewhere because I think they're the same as the motor mount bolts. So that's all hooked back up. Now I'm just working on getting the dashboard in so I can put the steering column back in. And I just want to show you a trick here, cleaning up some of these parts. So I'm just putting the little bezel that goes in behind and actually bolts in the headlight switch, and it's pretty corroded and funky looking. So I'm just cleaning it up. I just want to show you a quick way here. You very gently take some very, very fine steel wool. This stuff is amazing for a lot of things, and you'll see me use it a little bit more in the future here. I've got another video that's going to be coming out to show you what else I use this for. But on these little switches like that, and this, I mean, you may look at this and think, oh, this is garbage, this is junk, throw it away. Well, it's not. It's just some corrosion and dirt on it. And you just very lightly, and I mean very lightly, just rub the steel wool on there, and it will just, and I'm hardly pressing. All right, look at that. all cleaned up, perfect, shiny, ready to use again. And you know, no one will notice. There's a couple of little scratches in it, but it's going to be so far away that you won't notice. And there it is, fixed up. Steel wool. Okay, so I had the steering column installed and I've got power hooked up, which I'm going to shut off quickly after I show you what's going on here, because I've got the key buzzer, which works, but when I go to crank, I've got nothing. And I'm not surprised now that I was looking at this, because that whole harness is pretty much barbecued. It's all corroded and rotten, and I don't know if things were chewing on it or if it's just from rubbing against the dash, but old car stuff. So this car just seems to fight me every once in a while, and well, now it's that harness. So I'm gonna have to track down a harness before I can get this thing up and running and mobile. In the meantime, I will be doing the brakes on it, putting new brake lines and making sure that all works. And we'll go from there. Maybe I'll just wire up a remote to try and start it. Please smash the like, hit subscribe, follow along with this build and all the other ones I got going on. We'll have tons of content coming for you very soon. Thanks very much and take care.